Hi everybody, my name's Elise Rank. I chose to do my presentation on firewalls because firewalls are basically almost a fundamental preventative measure used in cybersecurity. And I wanted to know just a little bit more than the surface level information that Coursera provides. And I'm also just more interested in the security side of networking in general, as opposed to protocols and like the delivery of data across networks. And I guess they're all kind of interconnected, but I just find this stuff more intriguing. So what is a firewall? A firewall is a type of security control that prevents unauthorized access into or out of a network. It acts based on a set of pre-programmed rules that also may dictate which users can access specific network areas. So some firewalls only inspect data packets, some only verify the TCP handshake, and then others also do both. And obviously the ones that do both are going to offer a higher level of protection than the ones that just do one or the other. Firewalls can be deployed at either the software or hardware level. And then there are three types of firewalls: network-based, application, and proxy servers. So network-based firewalls just route traffic between networks. Application firewalls filter and intercept packets to and from applications, as well as control the execution of files and code to a network or server by specific applications, which means if an intrusion does occur, then the intruders can't execute malicious code. And then we went over proxy servers a little bit in Coursera. We learned that they act on behalf of a client in order to gain access to another server. So they're kind of just the middleman, and they add an extra layer of security between a client and a server. However, the downside to proxy servers is that they do create significant slowdown due to the extra steps they take to ensure security. And then two interesting things I learned, and you may or may not have made this connection, I definitely didn't, but the Coursera content included a little bit about how routers inspect data packets and discard certain information. So routers are firewalls because of how they operate and they inspect data packets. That's basically what a firewall does. So they're a basic hardware firewall. And then also Windows and iOS devices come with firewalls pre-installed. So I guess that's probably common knowledge, but I didn't even think of that. So technological foundations. Packet filtering is filtering packets by inspecting source and destination IP addresses, port numbers, and protocols. Stateful inspection is allowing or blocking packets based on the state of the connection, and then deep packet inspection is inspecting the actual payload of a packet, so the actual contents. Intrusion detection and prevention systems, so kind of the more modern firewalls, more high tech. They're called next generation firewalls. They can use IDPS to automatically respond to incidents, so no human intervention is required. They can do a whole lot all by themselves. And then VPN capabilities kind of includes encryption and enabling secure remote access to a network. And then modern technology in general. A couple of examples I included are machine learning and cloud-based security services. So firewalls basically act on these foundations. These are kind of the fundamental concepts that allow firewalls to operate. Opportunities, SIM tools, and automatic managers. So firewalls can serve SIM tools and actually feed logs and alerts into their systems to provide the organization with a more holistic view of security events. So they kind of work together to give information to the organization. Scalability, because cloud services offer flexible solutions to adapt to changing business needs. And then cost effectiveness, although some firewalls can be pretty costly, it depends on the size of your organization. So they can be expensive, but if you're paying that amount of money that you're paying is very small in comparison to the devastating financial losses that you can that you'll be at risk for if you don't have proper security measures set in place. Some challenges. Protection is not guaranteed, so Although routers can act as firewalls and software comes pre-installed with your computer, and you can even install additional software, even then it's not guaranteed to protect against every attack, so you can't rely on firewalls. It would be a mistake to be dependent on firewalls. These precautions can't prevent malware from installing on your system every time because this often happens through emails. And then having both a hardware firewall and a software firewall in place will offer the most protection. But if someone has your login credentials or uses some kind of physical theft technique, then a firewall can't do anything about that. So there are ways for malicious attackers to work around firewalls using other techniques. Complex configuration and management, so it can be pretty difficult, and it kind of depends on the size of your organization again, especially in large organizations. It's very complicated to configure and then maintain a firewall, and you're at risk of leaving gaps in your security posture. And then evolution of threats and malicious tactics. So we all know that technology is constantly evolving. Firewalls also need to evolve and be constantly updated in order to keep up with attackers and their techniques. Then practical applications in real-world scenarios. So first I have some real-world events that have taken place in the past. Microsoft themselves, you would expect them to have the best security because of the size of their company. They lost control of over 250 million customer support records that were left unprotected due to misconfigured security rules. And that kind of goes back to what I just said about how if your organization is larger, it's going to be more complex to configure firewalls, and if you leave gaps, it can obviously have some devastating consequences. Cineverse is a global telecommunications company. So hackers were inside their systems for 5 whole years before the company discovered that there was a breach. So a whole lot of theft was taking place for 5 years before they even knew anything about it. And then Brewdog exposed the data of 200,000 customers and shareholders through a vulnerability in a third-party app. So all these companies had old network firewalls in place, and they just simply weren't enough protection. It speaks to the importance of keeping your firewalls up to date. And then I also have some ways firewalls are practically applied in real life. So in educational institutions, they'll often block specific websites or limit access to specific content deemed inappropriate or unsafe for children. So if the children are logged on to their Wi-Fi, they can't access certain websites because they're blocked by the firewall. And this also can look like preventing kids from playing video games in the middle of class. And then business productivity. Firewalls can be used to block fraudulent websites that host malware or limit distractions, which basically increases the productivity of employees. So that's it. These are my sources. Thank you very much.